What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? This is Gangster Astrology and Rap Beef. And today we got something on the floor. We're going to deal with Donald Trump. We're going to deal with a little bit with hip hop and a little bit with the divide between so called black women and so called black men opinions on Donald Trump. Everybody is an individual, but we do have some group stuff going on, and I want to explore some of that group stuff that we got going on and why it is. Don't forget to like, comment, and if you like the video or if you like the content, check out something else and subscribe. Or subscribe and then unsubscribe, whatever you feel. But first of all, let's start off. Donald Trump has a Gemini Sun sign, and Donald Trump, he has an afflicted moon as well. But the thing is, let's get to the core of what's really going on right here. So you have a divide between, you got, now don't get me wrong, you got a lot of so-called black men or African American men or whatever the popular term is this day that don't like them and that won't vote for them. But you have the predominance of so-called black women that is consider themselves to be at war with them. And this is no different than what was being used throughout the history inside of the culture of the United States. And so you have this undying loyalty, this undying cult following to the Democratic Party. And so, and it's pretty much, when it comes to black men and white and black women, it's pretty much promulgated by, as they call themselves now, women of color. Imagine that, they're going back to calling themselves color men and color women. That's crazy as hell. But anyway, so what happens there is they finding themselves is they became involved in the do anything to get Trump out of the way and to make sure that he doesn't get finish his first term in the presidency or get another term in the presidency. This is an overall thing, right? What's happening is you literally have persecution of a political proponent. You have a persecution of someone who is running for office. This is the stuff that you thought that you hear about in China, you hear about in Russia, you hear about in all of these other countries, but we see it taking place right in front of us. And what's happening now is you have a lot of so-called black men that are starting to see, or that really been seeing, okay, the man might have did something wrong here, he might have did something wrong there, but this is some bullshit. You know, what's going on right now is literally a directed and a concerted attack to destroy a person, right? Now, the thing with the charges and all of the stuff that comes now, you would say, well, he probably was guilty of this, or he probably was guilty of that, and he's racist and so forth and so forth. But you don't name not any instance where he's any more racist than the other person. You know, and you know, I actually now the last election I voted for a Facebook friend. You know, I wasn't voting for, I'm an independent. You know, I don't vote for, nobody gets my full support. You know, I vote for people that represent issues that are pertinent to me. But I actually lost relatives. I've lost friends and things of that nature just for suggesting that, hey, I'm not going to just vote against Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to look and see what the issues are and things of that nature. And they literally, you know, I mean, literally relationships was destroyed by that because I wouldn't give an undying loyalty and an undying support to somebody or a party that wasn't supporting me. Here's what I can tell you. You know, we had times of Barack Obama, right? And everybody was happy. But Barack Obama, really, he wasn't the so-called black person that was right here. He wasn't a person that grew up in the hood. You know, he had a Caucasian mother. His father was from continental Africa, so he didn't have that same experience. And he spent majority of his time, one, trying to find out who it is that he was, and two, trying to make it look like he wasn't showing any favoritism to the people that represented the 13.5% of the population in the United States. Why did he get in there? Well, the reason why he got in there, he didn't do a different agenda. You know, he did good for the esteem of the young so-called black boy or black girl growing up inside of the country to make them think that maybe one day, you know, maybe one day I can be in that position. So it wasn't all bad. And that's the thing when you realize, that's the key mark, when you notice that you're dealing with a cult type situation, because a broken clock is right 2 times a day. So whenever you have somebody that's saying another person is 100% wrong all of the time, or another party is 100% wrong all of the time, then you know that you're dealing with a cult like type of situation, right? So what did they use Barack Obama for? Well, Barack Obama, first of all, the credibility of the United States had been destroyed. They exhausted all of their capital on the war inside of Iraq and on the war inside of Afghanistan. Nobody wasn't believing them. Colin Powell went into, who was a Republican, went inside of the UN, gave them some phony ass pictures and pointed to a spot on a picture and said these are the weapons of mass destruction, and they used that as the catalyst and the justification to go drop bombs on the country and to ultimately kill or be behind the killing of the president of that country. And to let you know how he got killed in the same good old-fashioned American way. He got hung, right? Okay, so Barack Obama, they needed somebody. They was tired of the Caucasian male, right? He didn't have no kind of capital. Wasn't nobody gonna believe him. Wasn't nobody gonna trust him. And so they got a person that looked black, grew up at went to the same colleges that majority of every other president went to, and then when the first things that he did is went and supported the removal of key figures and key presidents and kings in continental Africa, right? And this was the first. The United States couldn't overtly put boots on the ground there, but they had to get somebody that was believable to change it. So when Barack Obama came in there, this is when the Arab Spring came. This is when Tunisia got changed. This is where, and before he left, this is when Libya, the Muammar Gaddafi got killed. So he pretty much went through all of Africa, destroying that country, right? Going and everybody just accepted because he was black, and why would he do anything wrong to Africa? But a keynote was Mandela wouldn't even allow him to visit him when he was on his deathbed. He would not allow him to visit him when he was on his deathbed. The media quickly downplayed that, But anyway, you say, well, what does Barack Obama have to do with the relationship with Donald Trump and the black men and the black women? Well, this is from this Democratic Party, right? And it's not just the Democratic Party, it's the Republican Party also. It's not, when you talk about the rulers, probably do yourself a favor and go and read The Unseen Hand by Ralph Epperson, right? He gives you a few jewels and something to think about and something to look out so you can begin to shake this mythical illusion that you have about what the powers and how the powers are that be. So here's what happened. When so you go through the period with Barack Obama. Before that you had the when you had Bush, but before that you had the Great White Hope, right? You had Bill Clinton and you had Joe Biden in the 1994 crime bill. Now, when a person has to vote according to what their interests are. And this is not it's not supposed to be a homogeneous country where everybody think the exact same thought and do the exact same thing. That is a cult type of country, right? So people have different interests and people vote for their interests, and just because we look alike don't mean that our interests are alike. So me having done 24 years, that means that politically I fall up under the 13th Amendment, and the 13th Amendment states that slavery or involuntary servitude has been abolished except for those who have been duly convicted for a felony. In other words, politically, my political tag would be that of a slave. So my political tag would be that of the oppressed. And so for me, your reality is not my reality. So when the whole Black Lives Matter things and all of that came out, I was in the midst of having returned to society. And the first thing that I had to deal with was these onerous these onerous fees and fines that I was getting from the Healthcare Act, from Obamacare and the mandates, And so a candidate came that spoke against that, which was tearing me up financially, having no money, having been incarcerated for 24 years, but yet having these mandates, these penalties from stuff that I didn't understand, stuff that I didn't need at that time, but I had to pay thousands of dollars for this right here. And so I had somebody that was willing to relieve that. That means that person was in my better interest. And then you had the 1994 crime bill, and people want to say, well, it was violent and all of this and that. And you had a whole bunch of Negroes that supported that 1994 crime bill. You had people like C. Dolores Tucker. You had people like Reverend Calvin Bucks, who called themselves promoting Bobby Rush. You had people that considered themselves fighting crime. But let me tell you what the crime bill did, and I'm gonna tell you from how it affected the people who are incarcerated. See, what they gonna tell you is that it put more police on the street. What they gonna tell you is that it made it safer in the community. What I'm going to tell you is how it actually worked. What it did was, one, it restricted and made it almost impossible for you to defend yourself if you were convicted of a crime on appeal, because it restricted your right to habeas corpus. It limited to a year, which is totally impossible for somebody that's in the county jail, being supported by a court-appointed lawyer who's far overworked, you don't know nothing about the law. The attorney got too much stuff going on to care about the law, so they selling you up the river, and it's going to take you about 2 or 3 years to figure that out. But what they did was restricted everything to 12 months after the process has started, virtually taking away your right to the writ of habeas corpus, which is your right to address the federal courts on your issues, your constitutional issues that have you incarcerated once you discover that they have been violated. That's what the 1994 crime bill did. It virtually took away the right to appeal, or the ability of over 40 or 50% of the people to appeal wrongful convictions. What else did that bill do? That bill took college, it took the Pell Grant out of the prison system. And so you're talking about a place where majority of the people are actually going to come home. And what you do, what you think is a good idea, is that let's make sure that they can't get educated while they are there. So let's take away the Pell Grant, so they can't go to school and come out better than they was before they went in there. So they can't come out with degrees and things. In what world does that make sense? You think that it's a punishment to them, but what happens to the person that you have sitting languishing inside of a cell without the ability to expand their thinking, without the ability to begin to put different information inside of their mind so they can ultimately become a productive member of society? But no, what you do is you take away that and let them come back out here without any marketable skills that will be able to place them in a position where they can actually function inside of society, because they will be a marketable person inside of the workforce. So that's what the 1994 crime bill did. What the 1994 crime bill did was it allocated a whole lot of money for private prisons. And what the private prisons was, it was an incentive for to keep people incarcerated while they was making a whole lot of money on the private prisons for the people being incarcerated. So that led to people being denied parole on their first chance 90% of the time, being denied parole on their second time, regardless of how stellar of a prisoner record, institutional record that they had, regardless of what accomplishments that they made during their incarceration. They was guaranteed to receive a continuation the first time that they seen them, maybe the second time that they seen them, and sometimes the third time that they seen them, for no good reason. This is what the 1994 crime bill did. They said that it made people able to go to the go to boot camp and go to and go to drug courts instead of going straight to prison. A few people was able to benefit from that, but in turn, the majority of the people wasn't even coming through for that, and the majority of the people, it took away their ability to defend themselves. And let's talk about the Freedom of Religious Restoration Act of 1996. What the Freedom of Religious Restoration Act did was it stopped people from having the right to practice their religion. It restricted the right for them to practice their religion. They was able to be placed into classes for people that had similar religions, or that they deemed was a similar enough religion. You can't practice your religion. Go over here with this group that we approve because we think that their religion is kind of close to yours, regardless of the differences. It don't seem important to us, first of all, because it's not our religion. So go and practice their religion. Go to their religious groups and things of that nature. So yeah, it was a whole lot of stuff going on, and for you, it might not make a difference, but it makes a huge difference whether you believe it, whether you know it or not, in how a person processes, how a person develops, how a person reconstructs their thinking during the time that they are incarcerated. What does Donald Trump have to do about that? What does he have to do with this? Well, what happens here is the First Step Act. And people gonna say, well, he took the credit for it and all of this and that. Well, the credit is where the credit was. It was not passed. It was not a whole bunch of Democrats that was on board to do the First Step Act. You had people like Van Jones, but the people that was the political figures that was moving the ball was people like Newt Gingrich, who was the Speaker of the House. And it was other people who was prominent Republicans that was pushing this. One, because of the understanding, the business sense that it made, and two, because of the community sense that it made. And so you talk about, so that was my interest. Now, our interests may not be the same, but you crucify everyone to tell them that they're wasting a vote, that they're going for somebody that's racist when you haven't proved one person was more racist than the other person. And if anything, was it baggage with Donald Trump? Yeah, is Donald Trump the great hope? No, but what happened was he actually talked to the people. He actually talked directly to the people, right? Did he lie? Do politicians lie? Name me one that haven't lied. Name me a public figure that haven't lied. And so you have all of these Negroes, that vilify people, even all the way to what's her name? Alicia Garza, right? The dumbest thing that I heard somebody say. They asked, she was speaking about them and she tried to attack Ice Cube. All Ice Cube simply said was, I'm going to talk to both people. I'm not going to not talk to anybody. We have to deal with them. Her stupid self comes out and say, well, we aren't going to talk. Ain't no sense in talking to Donald Trump ain't no sense in talking to the person who is the president when the president is willing to look. How stupid can you be? What way is that in a better interest? All you are doing is telling people to go down this cult type following, regardless of what it is, the bad policies that's there, regardless of, I liked low gas prices. I liked the business deals. For the first time, you had somebody that put the pressures on China. But here's where the political stuff came in. Soon as the biggest deal in over 50 years that was made with China, that would make China begin to pay a fair amount with the United States and level the playing field with trade, out with the first impeachment that she had been holding for 7 days just to diminish that news to announce the impeachment. So don't tell me about it not being political. And this is where a lot of black people, a lot of black men come in at, who's used to being prosecuted, who's used to being persecuted, and they recognize a persecution when they see it. Name anybody that's been impeached twice. Name anybody that has a boat of charges in all of these different places. Mindful charges that did not come until it was close to election time. So this is where the divide is at. You have those who are caping for a political party, going blind and cult-like followings, and you have those who recognize persecution, who recognize garbage, and who recognize when someone is being ill-fatedly treated. You're talking about a $350 million suit. The purpose of that is to break the bank. 1, so you can't defend yourself legally. 2, so you can't fight, so you can't run, and you can't properly campaign and things of that nature. And so people see through that. People see through that. You got the whole the speeches where the most disrespectful thing where after the speech is being torn up and thrown aside. What kind of crazy stuff? Nancy Pelosi did some of the craziest stuff in the world. But you don't see black women calling her out on that. So it's a divide right there. You got they are who was used during a period. Just be nice, just go along with the program, just come on, walk into the oven. Not all, but the majority, when they are used, that's where it comes from. They are the single mothers. This is why it's important to get the men outside of the home. To get the men outside of the home because I don't care what ethnicity you is. A male is an alpha, a female is a beta. Even if you have a female that appears to be an alpha, she submits to an alpha male. So get the man out the home because it's easier to direct you and it's easier to get you to run our agenda. You see, people see Trump as being an alpha male. He didn't come in the White House trying to get rich. He came in the White House already rich. When men see him, when conscious men see him, they see the same people that Malcolm X had issues with. The CIA, the FBI, the government in a whole. It's the same. The media. It's the same people that Donald Trump had issues with. The same people that Martin Luther King had issues with, the FBI, the CIA, and all of these other people was the same ones, the government was the same ones that Trump had issues with. So yeah, you look at who a person's friends is, but you find the real quality of them when you figure out who their enemies are. And so now this time, yeah, he say stuff, his mouth is gonna always get him in trouble. He's a Gemini. Kanye West is a Gemini. Their charts are very similar to each other. He has an afflicted moon, so he goes off on a tangent. Kanye has a afflicted moon, so he goes off on a tangent. He has a Leo rising sign, so he's that magnanimous character and personality, and he comes across like that. But one thing that he's showing you is that he's resilient, and that's what a lot of people are starting to identify with. They seeing everything in the kitchen being thrown at them. They seeing everything in the bathroom being thrown at him. But what did he do? He come out, now he's selling gym shoes. You telling me I can't? First you fine me $350 million, then you tell me that I can't do business to earn money to pay you this $350 million. So in thinking that that's gonna break me, guess what? I got a pair of gym shoes to sell. That's resilience. And that's what men are relating to. That's what men are responding to. They know what it's like to have everything thrown at you. Whether some of the stuff you're guilty of, some of the stuff you might not be guilty of. But they know just because you're guilty of one thing don't mean that you're guilty of everything. You see? And so they relate to that resilience. They relate to that fighting back. And that's where that divide is at. So now you got all of these prosecutors. Why do they all look like black women? Why are the ones that's bringing the charges the black women? Ain't nothing clicking with y'all? Think about what you're doing. You distort. First of all, I listened to the speech over and over and over again. Not once in the speech on January the 6th did he say to do anything violent. He told everybody. He telling them to take it back in votes. He telling them to go back, make your voice heard. It's not illegal to protest. He told them to do it peacefully. But everybody just accept the notion, and even social media may almost restrict you and almost ban you if you say that he didn't incite a riot. Like you don't have ears, and your comprehension isn't good enough to listen. All you have to do is just listen. Go back, listen to the whole speech. And I challenge anybody to point out any line in there that incited someone to violence in that January the 6th speech. And this is where you women got to be careful at. Because I remember a lot of the speeches that was going on during all of these riots. Prior to that, I remember speeches that was glorifying the police stations being burnt. I ain't saying that nothing about them, but I remember those speeches. I remember those speeches that was telling people to fight back physically. I remember those speeches that was telling people to resist arrest to the fullest extent. That can easily, if you allow the bar to be lowered so much, then that same thing is going to be used on you. You don't got to take my word. You don't got to believe me. All you got to do is just wait and see. And it don't matter if you change now. The damage is already done. It's coming. But when it do, remember that I told you. So, will I vote for Trump? I don't know who I'm voting for right now. He's saying dumb stuff right now. Like, he's saying stuff like anybody, convicted of drugs should get the death penalty. I wouldn't vote for nothing like that. But would I vote for Biden? No. This might be a time that I sit out. But I don't know. I'm going to sit back and wait. But I definitely am not following the mob. Till next time, this is Gangster Astrology and Rap Beef. Deuces.